Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavid Vishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is the Kathopanishad, and we are on 2, 2, 3. To recap a bit, we have said that in this city of 11 gates, the Kathopanishad speaks about the body like a city. And in the city of 11 gates, there is the king there, the ruler, with unflickering consciousness. The body or the city is meant for the dwellers. You don't have a city without any city dwellers. But there are city dwellers, and then there's something called the mayor in a city. Okay. So we have this reality called the Brahman there, which is dwelling in the city. And that reality is reflected as the individual soul. Now the Upanishad is very clear. When it speaks about individual self there within the city, because the body is an individual, it is limited. We have many types of bodies in the world. So just to kind of make us understand that there may be many types of bodies, many kinds of bodies, big, small, tall, short, everything. But there is only one supreme self, one individual self that is appearing as an individual self. Or you might say, oh, many bodies, many types of bodies, so there are many souls. It's dismissed here. There are no many types of soul, there's only one reality, the Atman. And we had spoken about the description of the Upanishad in the second verse, which speaks of, as the moving sun, it dwells in heaven. As air, it pervades all and dwells in the interspace. As fire, it resides on the earth. As soma, it stays in a jar. It lives among men. It lives among gods. It dwells in truth. It dwells in space. It is born in water. It takes birth from the earth. It is born in the sacrifice. It emerges from the mountain. That is unchanging. That is great. Hamsa Suchi Sad Vasudantariksha Sad. It's one of those most sublime verses. Beautiful verses. And we find this verse also in other Upanishads as well. Now, this makes it clear that that one reality is everywhere. It is born in truth, it is born from water, it is born in the mountains, it dwells in sacrifice, it's on fire, it dwells on earth, as air, it dwells in the intermediate space. As you can say, as a sun, it dwells in the higher reaches, the higher realms. So it's not talking about a sun merely, it's talking about that soul, the Atman. Because the sun is a symbol of the Supreme Self. And as we had discussed last time, all life depends on this sun, this Atman. So the next verse takes the thread of this argument. All deities worship that adorable one sitting in the middle, who pushes the prana upwards and impels the apana downwards. Urdhvam pranam munnayati apanam pratyagasyati madhye vamanamasinam vishve deva upasate. Now, it's one of those, you can say, verses which is telling Nachiketa, who had initially asked, there is this doubt. Some say that a person dies, there's nothing left. Some say there's something less. There's something more than death. What is that? And the Upanishad has spoken about this imperishable reality variously. This is another one of the verses that says, okay, see, what is life? We have not been really able to understand. The yogis say, when you experience life, it is called mind. Okay. The mind is nothing but a reflection of the reality trying to understand what is life. This reality that is there within not only us, but in everything, it is actually the impeller. In Advaita Vedanta and Vedanta, rather, the individual Atman is called the Karta and the Bhokta, the doer, the agent, and the experiencer. So this experiencer, what does it experience? Oh, it experiences life. It experiences the body. It experiences the external world. Yeah. So that is the real entity, that is the reality here within this body. Now, we will say, what does it do? Is it merely just an onlooker? I mean, people say, it's just an onlooker. It's a sakshi, a witness. What does it do? Just onlooking? Looking? What's that? Kind of a silly idea of reality. But here it is clear. It's saying all deities worship that adorable one sitting in the middle, who pushes the prana upwards and impels the apana downwards. Now, prana, as we know, is breath. The higher aspect of this prana is called prana. That is the universal life force animating everything. Part of that universal animating vital force, life force, is here in the body also. And that is, you can say, subdivided into 5 main functions. So the principal one is called prana, in kind of recognition of that universal prana. So prana moves from the heart upwards. It helps in inhalation and exhalation. Yeah, imagine. Apana moves from the heart downwards. It also helps in inhalation and exhalation, but its work is mainly downwards. Then we have something called samana. When we eat, the food is digested and distributed all over. And that is samana. And the body has to be kept warm. That's the Vyana. And when there's there's a need for departure from this body to another, the life force says, okay, bye-bye. We've had enough of this place. We've had experience of this place. We want another better house. We are moving. You don't have to call U-Haul. The Udana says, come on. And it helps in leaving. There are 5 other subsidiary pranas, but they are not very important. Like you can say blinking of the eye, you can say yawning and all this, Devadatta, Krikala, all these things. So what's happening here? It is this reality that is enlivening everything. If this reality wasn't there enlivening everything, this thing would have been useless, dead. So that's the reason why. Yeah. So we got this prana business, okay? The other concept here is all deities worship that adorable one. Adorable, bhajaniya. Yes, it's an adorable one. That reality is really adorable. Why should it be adorable? Why? Because even the gods adore it. You were just talking about, I wish I could remember all the time. If the idea of that reality as adorable comes in, it's not a static, a kind of a plastic or neutral object. It's adorable. So automatically your adoration will go towards that. Adoration is meant for the adorable ones. So here we have a quality of this reality as being adorable. If all the gods can worship it, well, it's good enough for us. Shri Ramakrishna says, a few rustic gentlemen had gone for a feast. And they found they couldn't identify some of the food that is being served. So they are looking at each other. What is this? I don't know. Well, have the gentlemen eaten that? Say, yes. Oh, if the gentlemen eat it, it's good enough for us. So, similarly, if the gods are worshipping that one, why? Because it's adorable, it's good enough for us also. So, even Swami Vivekananda has Madhye Vamanam Asina Madhye. We'll get a few other concepts clear because this verse seems so simple, but it's very deep. Madhye, it sits in the middle of all the activities of the prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, all these. And it is a real impeller. We think that prana, life force, is the real impeller, the king within. But even this king is superseded by another king, an emperor. Madhye sits down in the middle. Now, where in the middle? Right down, as we have been discussing, right down in the core of your being. You see, what happens is we have a body here and we look at it as gross. It's gross. This body is gross. As the mind becomes a little purified, the first thing that you experience is this very world, this gross, stupid world that we see about, has a mystical element in it. It's not a mystery. There is a mystical element in everything. In water, in fire, in earth, in space, everywhere. There's a mystical quality in life itself. What is life? It's mystical. Everything has that kind of background to this. This is the spiritual dimension that we miss because we are seeing the surface, we are seeing only the gross things, and that is what happens. There are hundreds of examples of people who see this world, and then as that mind becomes purified, their vision, as it were, penetrates within the screen, and they get in touch with that spiritual, mystical reality. Even the sun and the moon and the stars and everything, this whole universe has that mystique. And that's the reason why nobody can tell for sure what exactly, who has made this, where has it come, where is it going, what is its nature. If we can understand this mystical element in nature and even within us, then it is very easy for us to understand that this reality sits down there deep within, in our core. And it is described in mystical language as a lotus with a space within that lotus. And that space is that supreme space in which the Atman resides. How can this universal Atman reside in that small space? That universal is intuited here in that small space. That lotus, it's a form of consciousness. And as we get in deeper, we will enter into that supreme space. So, to understand this mystical nature, this spiritual nature, this is called bhava. It's called a bhava rajya. In those who have read the gospel and those who have read Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and those who have read the Great Master, you got to understand that Sri Ramakrishna used to go into this bhava samadhi now and then. See something. When he was a child, he saw a flock of, milk white cranes flying against a dark sky. And he gets into samadhi, bhava samadhi. He's thinking of Shiva, he gets into samadhi. He's looking at a particular thing and gets into samadhi. He even sees a prostitute and gets into samadhi. What is happening here? Getting in touch with that spiritual dimension, that divine dimension. This is called a bhava raja, the kingdom or the realm of bhava. The realm of becoming, the realm of reality. That is the reality in everything we see and do and talk, and we are actually within that reality. But since we are just on the surface, we have not been able to penetrate deeper and deeper and deeper and enter into that lotus of the heart, within the lotus. And then if we do, then the whole thing flashes. So it is in that supreme space, in the core of your being, is that adorable one seated there. That adorable reality. And they're saying, all the deities worship. Worship. How do they worship? Well, you see, in Vedanta, it's very clear that first, what Vedanta is doing trying to explain to you this reality is divine, it is a divinization of life and activities and work and everything. But what about the gods? We tend to kind of think the gods are outside, far away. That's the one part of the gods, and everything is ruled by the gods. I'll clarify it because this needs a little clarification. Because people have been trying to understand Vedanta through this concept of Maya and saying everything is a dream and everything is kind of unreal and everything is worthless. Vedanta speaks about the divinity of all life. As simple as that. So, how does it speak of the divinity of all life? Well, you see, every one of us has hands. Okay? Arms. So they say, who's the presiding deity of the arms? Vedanta says Indra, the god Indra. We have feet. We have. Who is the presiding deity of the feet? Oh, it's Vishnu. Really? Whoa, what's a. Yeah. But we thought Vishnu and Indra was far out. Then what's the presiding deity of the mind? The moon, Chandrama. Chandrama Manaso Jata. What's the presiding deity of the eyes? Suryo Chakshoro Jata. Wow. And then, what's the presiding deity of this feeling of I? Shiva. What's the presiding deity of memory? Again, it's Vishnu, Chitta. And what's the presiding deity of my intellect? Well, it is Brahma. Well, but these gods are outside. These gods are outside, they are inside also. You cannot have outside and inside in Vedanta in a strict absolute terms. These gods are spread out all through creation. These gods are there in the functions of everything that is going on in creation. Then what about taste? Oh, it's Varuna, the god Varuna. And associated with water. Ah. And what about the sense of smell? Oh, these are the Ashwins. Ashwin, the two nostrils associated with earth, the goddess earth. And what about these ears? Oh, these are the Dikpals, the gods associated with the quarters, directions. What's happening? Our whole body is full of gods, all the deities. It's as simple as that. Then we have Prajapati and we have Yama. See? We don't need to go outside somewhere in the other realms to see them. No, you don't have to. Their counterparts are here. Their counterparts are in every functions. The other meaning of the word Deva is the sense organs, Indriya, Dyotanad, that which shines. And why it shines? Because of those divinities inside. So, your physical and mental and intellectual and moral and whatever you want to is teeming with deities. It's teeming with the gods. This is the first lesson in Vedanta. It's a deification of the world. People have been kind of being told, you see, this is this and this is the waking and the dream and the deep sleep and this and that and turiya and then everything is shunya and void and it's dreamlike. Oh, this is the reality. We are talking about Vedanta. Chandi is not here now. Because that was a concept which came in, though it was Vedic, the Chandi concept was really crystallized much later on. So these gods are all Vedic gods in the Vedas. Okay. So here we are. All the gods are there within us. They help in the functioning of this body. So Vayu, the god Vayu, is that universal prana, who is a presiding deity of the. So everything is kind of. There's another verse that there is that supreme self, which holds a thunderbolt, as it were, and all the gods, sun and wind and fire and all these things, they go about their work because of the fear. Bhayadasya indrasya vayur mrityur dhavati panchama. So, because there is a supreme self presiding over even the gods. These gods preside over all the functions in the universe, and there's another presiding deity even above these gods. So these gods, they worship that supreme one, adorable one. How? Through the functions of the senses, through the mind and through the body. They are, as it were, all sights and smells and taste and touch, and all these things are kind of offerings to that adorable one. There it is. So we get this idea. All deities worship through the functions of everything, whatever is there in this universe. Through these functions itself, they offer these elements to that adorable one who is there in the center of your being, the core of your being, in the cave of the heart. Gohayam, as another word that's quite in Vedanta is used. This is that adorable one. All the functions of the universe, which are guided by the functions of the gods, the shining ones, they are, in a way, offering their functions to the Lord who's sitting inside. And that is why we also should understand that whatever you do, whatever we think, like the Bhagavad Gita said, Yat karoshi yadasnasi yat juhosi tadansi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Do everything, or you eat and sleep and think and work and do everything, do it for me. This is what the whole process of Vedanta is. Once you understand, oh, it is here, there, it's that reality, the adorable reality, and all the gods. So, what happens is, in Vedanta, your waking state consciousness is called Vishwa. And this whole universe is called Vaishvanara. So, Vishwa and Vaishvanara, internal, external, they are kind of made into one. They come into contact, as it were. There is no division between this relative and this absolute, this internal, that external. It's only apparent. Everything is one. So all the deities function here and there outside. So one part of Indra is here, one part of Vishnu is here. Not only here, it's everywhere. One part of the God of the mind is in me and in all minds. One part of it. It's like we are part of that universal, you can say, God. So once you understand, yes, we are parts and parcel of that one reality, then life becomes bearable, meaningful, and joyful. Otherwise, we are cut away from that mystical element. We are cut away from that power. We have isolated ourselves from our own divinity. This is the meaning of this. So all deities worship that adorable one sitting in the middle, who pushes the prana upwards and impels the prana downwards, signifying all other activities conducive to life and mind and senses and intellect and everything. That is the real impeller. We take the next verse. 2:4. When this dweller in the body becomes detached, when it is freed from the body, what else remains here in this body? This indeed is that. Now here we come to this concept of reincarnation also. What dies? That person dies, that person is dead, the person is dying. Oh no. Vedanta says, this adorable one which is seated here inside leaves this place, leaves the city of 11 gates, leaves this and goes somewhere else. What else remains here then?
Elements.
They merge in the elements. There is no such thing as absolute death. There is no such thing as absolute birth. So here, asya vishram samanasya sharirastasya dehina dehad vimucchamanasya kimatra parisheshyate etadvaitat. This indeed is that. This the Upanishad is telling Nachiketa, this indeed is that. That is that reality that you were inquiring about. Here it is. When this dweller in the body, who is the dweller in the body? Dehinaha. Dehin. Deha is a body. And the body is meant for someone else. It's called Dehin. Or Sharira, body. Sharirin. So Parartha, that is, this body is meant for what? The other day somebody was asking me, is there a soul mate? I said, I wrote, I said, no, the bodies have mate, the souls don't have mates. Why should the soul have mate? Why should the adorable one have a mate? The bodies and minds have mates. So bodies are meant for what? Well, for what?
To realize.
Yeah, bodies interact with other bodies. So bodies have mates. So the city is meant for whom? For the city dwellers, of course. So here you have the body is meant for someone else. And for whom? Like we said, all the shining functions of everything converge towards that adorable one. Now, when the adorable one leaves, what happens? The city of 11 gates, or the city of 9 gates according to the Bhagavad Gita, Navadvare Pure Dehi. So it doesn't matter. So, well, this body goes back down to the elements, and then again it is reformed. So the whole process is one wave rises, goes down, again rises, goes down, and again rises, goes down. But where does it go down? Well, it goes in the water, again it rises up, again it. So that water, the water is actually without form, and from that formless arises form and merges. This whole universe is like this. Forms arise and dissolve, emerge and merge. What is death then? Well, for this city of 11 gates, when this adorable one decides to, from here, it decides to go there. Then what happens to this? Well, nothing remains here. It's saying nothing remains. What else remains here in this body? What else remains?
Recycle.
Yeah, recycle. Oh yeah. Because it was that adorable one who was pushing the prana upwards and pushing the prana downwards. That is the king. And when the king, the emperor, goes to what remains here? Nothing remains. So what it is trying to say that there is a distinction between what you think is real, your body and mind is real. No, there is another entity which is real. And once we can get this idea that my reality is that adorable one which is beyond this body and the senses and the mind and the prana, the life force, everything. It is there that I have to pay attention. And then we weep and wail, oh my God, that person has died. What person has died? That adorable one, that soul has gone to another place. As simple as that. So this very thing should have been opening our eyes. What remains here? Well, those who are who don't believe in the soul and all these things. So what remains is that it doesn't matter. So everything ends with death. Everything. Then why bother about earning and saving and doing this and that, and everything ends with death? Isn't it? So if everything ends with death, there will be a kind of a fatalism. Why should we do anything? It's not necessary at all. There is yet, however, a kind of a vague sense of immortality within all of us, however dull and stupid one can be. Yet that shines within us. So that's why mythologies have given all these heavens and, oh, after you die, you'll go to this heaven. You be good, you go there. If you are bad, you go to hell. They are talking about the immortality of the soul in mythological terms, trying to make people understand. They say, dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return to. You are made from dust, and you will return. So much of creams and makeups and this and that and all these kind of supplements and vitamins and eating, they said, what's happening? Made out of dust. Yet we feel, no, there is something more to this dust. And what's that? This is that adorable. That is shining there behind. And it is that shining one who gives us the feeling of permanence, that we are not afraid of death. Oh yeah, so what's that? And for the Easterners, for those who developed this, you can say, discovered this great grand idea of the reincarnation. It was there amongst the ancients, amongst the ancient Greeks and all these things. It was there. For them, yeah. What remains here? That adorable one has gone to another location. Within this reality itself, so nothing remains here. So put your attention to this, not on the transitioning, coming and going and coming and going. This will give us this idea. We stop here for today. We can kind of take up some questions if there are. And
Maharaj, may I ask a quick question, please? And I have to leave today, so I'll ask.
yeah,
Everywhere, like they say, it is sarvavyapi, omnipresent, omnipotent. So, and then after you instructed and I'm reading this Devi, Chandi, Kavacha, every pore, everywhere is covered and protected. So why we say only in the heart?
Shri Ramakrishna says, that Babu, that land, zamindar or the owner of the house, he's got a large house. But he's found in his Vaitakhana, his drawing room. You got it?
But Babu, I got it, but
Where does the owner of the house in a big mansion, where does the person?
main room.
So it is there. And in the heart, in the sense like you're saying in the heart, in the physical heart, it's not a physical heart that's speaking about. It's a spiritual heart, it's a spiritual center of your being there.
Chidakash.
Yes, it is Chidakash within the Chittakash.
They call it the Hridaya Chakra.
They call it Hridaya Chakra and all these things, but then the concept of chakra had come out much later on. So it is there it's the heart of the matter when you say. What is the heart of the matter? The very essence of that matter. What is the heart of your talk? What's the essence of your talk? It is this.
I am very much helped with your
Oh yes.
direction doing this Chandi.
Very
You're
good.
making me aware that everywhere.
Om Tat Sat.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I should not have stopped.
Why?